Welcome everybody to the Mayoral Forum for the 2023 election cycle for the city of Waterville, Maine. My name is James Libby and I'm a professor here at Thomas College, a longtime political office holder as well. And it's truly an honor to be your moderator this evening. I'd like to thank the city for allowing me, the city and many of the institutions in the city for allowing me to serve in this capacity. I really enjoy it. And it's always been, I think, very beneficial for the people of Waterville. And so I want to continue to do it for that reason. This mayoral forum will be live streamed on centralmaine.com, and the recording will be available following. So you'll all be able to go back and see yourselves online if you like to. And for those of you at home, welcome to Thomas College. We are really pleased to have you here. Thomas College has been my employer for the last 21 years. It's been one of the greatest honors that I've ever had, is working here with some wonderful people, including Lori LaChance, our president, and Tom Edwards, our provost, and many, many other good faculty members and some great people, and we have wonderful students as well. And I offer anybody in this room or outside listening to us a tour of Thomas at any time. Contact me and I will give you a personal tour. We love our college. At this time, I'd like to ask all of you to turn off your telephone ringers, if you would. Just check your telephones. When the students are here, by the way, we have a little contest and we find out who's got the craziest ring and then we shut them off. But if you would do that, it would be great. We appreciate it. I'd like to offer my personal thanks to Scott Monroe, the managing editor of the Waterville Sentinel and the Kennebec Journal. Scott, are you here? Can you just wave? There he is right there. Scott has been instrumental in putting these together, not just this year, but for several years now, and it's been absolutely wonderful working with him. On the questions this evening, for example, we've got input from everybody in town, really, the Waterville Police Department, the Chamber, citizens. We've done our best to get some questions that really make sense to ask these candidates. And we've also been able to review online submissions that, again, thanks to Scott and his team, and we've been able to work those in as well. And now for the debate. Let me explain the rules. Our rules are as follows. We only have 2 candidates this year, and we've had many more on stage in past years, and that presents some really good advantages when it comes to debates, especially in terms of time. The candidates will begin by having 3 minutes for their opening statement and just to introduce themselves to the people of Waterville. We know that there are new people that have just moved into Waterville that don't know these candidates. There are people that have been here for many years that don't know these candidates, and so we're going to give them an opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. At the end of the 3 minutes, you'll see one of our fine students. Sebastian, could you stand up? All right, give him a hand if you would. Here's one of our fine political science students here at Thomas College, and Sebastian will be our timekeeper. And so when the 3 minutes is over, you might see him raise his hand. And so I'd like the candidates to keep their eyes down and make sure that you see that. As I've told the candidates earlier, if they don't see Sebastian and they go over the 3 minutes, I'll be clearing my throat up here, and you'll all know what we're doing. But after the 3 minutes that they use to introduce themselves, then we will begin the questions, and I will be flipping back and forth between the candidates on the questions, and you'll see my modus operandi shortly. Okay, the 2 candidates sitting before us are Mike Morris and Matt Bullerice, and I'll ask them both to introduce themselves as part of the opening remarks here. And I also understand that each of them will be available after we finish this debate for you to come up and speak with if you'd like to. They've both indicated a willingness to do that, and I want to thank them for that. Okay, I am going in alphabetical order, so Matt, that means that you are up first. If you'd introduce yourselves, and if you would tell the audience a little bit about why you want to be the mayor of Waterville, that would be great.
Well, first, I'd like to thank everybody for being here this evening. I'd like to thank Thomas College and the Morning Sentinel for hosting this debate, as well as Mike Morris for being here to participate with me. I sit here before you this evening as a candidate for the office of mayor. The reason for me sitting here this evening is because I believe Waterville is a very pivotal moment in its history. We've been handed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity by our downtown revitalization efforts. What we choose to do from here is going to chart the course of our city for years to come. Waterville is not unique in the challenges that we're dealing with at the moment. We see these challenges around our state and nationally as well. They're complex, and neither of us are going to be able to promise to solve those issues overnight. But what I can promise you is good leadership will be able to bring the right people together, create solutions, and a plan to move forward. If you've looked at the charter of the mayor, it's fairly limited. It's somewhat of a ceremonial role. The real day-to-day operations of the city is the city manager, the CEO of the city, if you will, as well as the city council, which is the managing body of our city. However, the role of the mayor is also an important one. It's one that deserves respect, and my vision for the mayor of our city is a professional, dedicated, and hardworking cheerleader for this city. It's the person you want at the table when a developer comes to our city and says, why should I develop much-needed housing in your city versus the other cities I'm looking at? When the employer comes to us and says, why should I set up shop here versus going somewhere else? We need somebody who's willing to get out there and speak to the people, all of our residents. This could be the recently unhoused veteran at the soup kitchen, the hardworking single parent who teaches 6th grade, small business owner on the corner, the leaders, our largest employers, the organizations that provide services to our city. We need to take all of their opinions and look at them equally, understand their needs and their challenges. I believe I'm the person that can do this because of my diverse background. At this phase of my life, I run a real estate company. I provide housing for some of our residents, and it's a career path that has awarded me the ability to provide for my family and to support those around me. However, it wasn't always like that. I didn't come from money. I know what it's like to be down to my last dollar. I know what it's like to even have my bank account overdrafted. When I first started this company in 2015, about a year later, Tori and my stepdaughter moved in with me. I remember having to take my last credit card and max out my $300 limit to rent a U-Haul. But I've also seen the other side of things, what it's like to be a business owner and have to provide for your employees, to make payroll every Friday so that they can put food on the tables for their families, what it's like to provide housing for hardworking individuals in our community. I've had a diverse background and experiences throughout my journey in life, and for those reasons, I feel I have the experience and skills to be our next mayor. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Mike, we're excited to hear from you.
Thank you. 7 years ago, life brought me to Waterville. I lived in Maine for most of my life, but the sense of belonging that I feel here is unique. My children are in the public school system. I've owned homes here. I've rented here. I've experienced many of the challenges that we will undoubtedly talk about today. I love this city. My wife relocated here from Bangor because she also sees how special our community is. Because of you, I've had the privilege to serve in wards 1 and 5 as a city councilor, understanding the dynamics under 2 mayors, and all while learning the ins and outs of local government. I've spoken to a lot of you in times of crisis, at events, while volunteering, even while out knocking doors. Because I love being part of this community and I care about our citizens, I'll speak with community partners, forge connections, and have a drive to understand how we can make things work. My story, Waterville, is our story. I'm here not just as a candidate for mayor, but one of you, a resident, a dad, a husband, a volunteer, and an advocate. Together, we can continue the momentum we have and fine-tune this city so that it responsibly aligns with your sense of community. Having worked under 2 different mayors, 3 different city managers, and over countless city staff and 10 different councilors, I've addressed the concerns constituents bring to me. I love to focus on the big picture because I'm passionate about working towards solutions. I want to help people so they struggle less and enjoy what Waterville has to offer, a diverse community that welcomes all who want to be part of it. Whenever I'm in social settings and people discover that I'm a city councilor, their immediate response is, "Ooh, you're a politician?" I always smile and say, you know, I am probably the most unpolitical political person that you'll ever meet. The role of mayor shouldn't be about playing politics. It should be about leadership. And that's where I come in. I'm not just another politician. I'm a bridge builder, a unifier. I have a knack for finding common ground, and even when opinions clash, I celebrate our success, and I am comfortable with holding the line when appropriate. That's not a skill, it's my superpower. And that's why I believe that I'll be an outstanding mayor for Waterville.
Thank you, Mike, very much. And thank you both, and it's clear to me already that two people that love Waterville are sitting in front of us and willing to answer our questions. And so we come to our questions. Our questions reflect the fact that voters are asking more and more for specific answers from the candidates, and I know that that's what they'll give us. My first question is rather long, and it's been in the news very recently. So if you'll bear with me, I think you'll know the subject. This week, I spoke to two members of the Waterville Police Department about the homelessness and encampments in Waterville. One memorable exchange included the observation that while mental health and substance abuse are two significant drivers behind the encampments, substance abuse can also be viewed as an informal treatment or an escape for these for significant underlying mental health issues that some of the homeless are facing. Mike, do you support the police department's efforts to establish better contact with the unhoused, including the new community outreach coordinator position? And since we have many in our community who are willing to offer advocacy and mental health treatment, but few of the unhoused who have so far been willing to accept the help, what else can the city be doing about this problem?
Thank you. Yes, I do support the outreach that's happened. One of the best things I think that's happened to Waterville recently has been the addition of our community outreach partner. We have to understand that the folks that are our unhoused neighbors now have had significant trauma that has placed them in the position that they're in today. Systematically, they have been failed along the way, and their lack of trust is something that needs to be earned. Our community outreach partner has been out there every day, every week, meeting with these people. Was met with great adversity at the beginning. Oh, you're a police officer, you're gonna rat us out, and he's really started to earn that trust. The barriers and the walls that have been put up are starting to come down, and we're having conversations, fantastic conversations that are helping us, understand what their needs are, and that's what's most important.
Okay, Matt, what is your take on this homeless issue?
Thank you. Well, again, this is a complex issue, and it's not unique to Waterville. We're seeing this all over our state and the country, unfortunately. I do believe the new position Todd Stevens holds, the community outreach partner, is a fantastic first step. I think we're heading in the right direction because it's not slapping a Band-Aid on and arresting people over and over again and releasing them the next day. He's out there actually providing service to these people and connecting them with the services they need. So I think we are heading in the right direction there. I had a chance to meet with Todd and Chief Bonnie, and they really immersed me in the program and their solutions and what they're working towards. And I do think it's the right approach because it's not a patrol officer. He doesn't even wear a badge. He's out there just talking to these people and building rapport and getting to know them. When it comes to the substance abuse aspect of it, some of these individuals, sure, had these problems when they became unhoused. However, if you look at the statistics, and I don't remember the exact percentage, but the vast majority of them fall into addiction after they become unhoused. So connecting them with the right services and ongoing support is critical. I also think that we have a lot of people trying to solve this problem on their own little islands. And if we could bring those people together and each service that they provide, they can recommend the next service that these people need. For instance, recently I had the opportunity to meet with a family who was recently unhoused, finally found housing. They had support getting into this housing, but then they had a whole new set of problems. They had to furnish their bedrooms, their living room, their dining room. So I was able to provide contact information for KV CAP, a program that they have where people struggling are able to receive a credit for the restore. But I believe that all of these services need to know the services that are out there amongst the community. And that's why I think the community collaborative event we had down at Head of Falls was fantastic. I talked to the head of the fire department, and they said they were learning just as much as anybody else. So I really think it's about bringing everybody together, learning about each other's services, and then trying to connect these individuals to that. Thank you.
Well, thank you both. I reserve the right to ask a follow-up question. And so I'm going to ask a kind of a tough one. I mean, I think all of us, or many of us, were able to watch the news this morning. And we're starting to talk about things like yurts. And we're talking about gates. And we're talking about an allocation. And it's closing in on winter. Where are you on some of the proposals that we heard in council last night? Mike.
I think the best part about the idea of yurts was that the idea originated from our unhoused neighbors. It wasn't the city or administration or anyone else saying, hey, this is what you need. These were our neighbors saying, this is what we want. I think it sparked a fantastic conversation. They came to the table on how we could help them. The mayor put this on the agenda. We waived closure, and what happened was we had a discussion that we wouldn't have otherwise had. Now we have a plan to meet and bring other community stakeholders together to kind of vet and determine if this is the right course of action. I think that the discussion will provide solutions that will work. And it all started by an idea that was brought to us by our unhoused neighbors. And as a city, we should be proud of the trust and communication that we're building with this community.
Matt?
When it comes to the yurts, I think it definitely is a topic that deserves more discussion. Look at some communities that have tried this, see how it's worked out for them. Went out there talking to people since this has come up. One of the biggest things I get from residents is Head of Falls the proper area for this? A lot of citizens are concerned because this was a park that they used to love going to, and now they feel like they're not able to. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it, but I'm saying we need to determine, is this the best place if we're gonna go down this road? How is this temporary solution? Are they asking for 10 more next spring? I think we need to put some parameters around it if we're gonna go down this route. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. We're going to turn an about face to taxes. As the region's service center community, Waterville is under a lot of pressure. And some people in this room and others think that the taxes are high. The city added some new positions recently, and they cost some dollars as well. And there were some property reval adjustments. Matt, what is your view about the rising taxes in periods of rising inflation?
So again, this is an issue while I'm out there knocking on doors, talking to people, probably the #1 topic that comes up. And as we know, the city council this year pushed through an extremely large increase in our budget. And when it comes to the assessment, we did reassess values, that was necessary. However, that doesn't necessarily result in the tax increases because we adjusted our mill rate as well. And basically the increase in taxes came from the increase in budget. So I think it's important when looking at the budget moving forward that we scrutinize each line item. When organizations come to us that are not part of our city or our education system, we need to scrutinize those line items as well and look at what the return on investment is for the citizens of Waterville. And we also really need to focus on economic growth and development, because without raising our tax revenue, the only alternative as prices continue to go up over the next several years is to raise property taxes. And I know that's an unpopular opinion amongst people, and rightfully so. So I think it's a two-prong approach. We need to scrutinize budget. We also need to look at increasing our revenue streams and any available options out there that exist. Thank you.
Mike, taxes, what do you think?
Taxes, yeah. So the city waited as long as they could, before raising taxes. During the, we were in a time during COVID. A lot of folks were already out of work, and we knew that there were some things. We were starting to see some inflation and some things, and we used some one-time monies. We used some rainy day funds to kind of keep things kind of even keel as we were navigating through a lot of unknown and daily changing information. So we're now in a different space, and the reality is that everything costs more. No matter what we do, whether we do it at home or we do it, for the city, things cost more. Expenses went up, and so did the cities. Wages for our staff had not changed, and compared to other municipalities, our wages did not compete. Positions were vacant in our schools, on our city staff, and our first responders. We knew to attract people to serve our city, to keep those that already are here. A wage increase was a must. This is the first year in, I want to say, 4 years that the school system started its school year without any open positions. Right, we don't have subs filling in for core classes. The police department has been down 7+ officers for quite some time, all of them working overtime. Morale was at its lowest. They now have the tools. They are hiring not only officers that have come out of or haven't been to the academy. We're attracting officers who have been to the academy and coming from other locations and municipalities. As a way of increasing, our tax revenue, maximizing our zoning for sustainable development is key. We are currently in the process of hiring a community development specialist, and this person's role is to find funding and bring it to the community. Money that we can add through the grant process will absolutely offset costs of the city.
Thank you. Okay. We talked about the homeless issue, or the unhoused issue, but there's also the issue of structures themselves. One report in Maine that was recently released talked about the fact that we may be as many as 80,000, in need of 80,000 more homes in our state in just the next few years. And Waterville being what it is, do you think that the city needs more affordable workforce type housing? And if so, how can the city encourage that type of housing development with interest rates as high as they are? How can the city jumpstart new development? Matt?
So when it comes to development, we need to be a city that is willing to work with the developers that come into our city. Contrary to popular belief, not all of us have a vested interest in Waterville. A lot of developers look for communities that fit their demographics, and then from there, they pick the best location. We recently have gone on an attack against landlords in our city, and we've been driving several of them out. So it's very hard to say that we want housing and need housing, and then on the other hand, put down the people that provide housing for us. And we need all levels of housing. Affordable is one aspect of that, and it's definitely something that we need to look at. I think a lot of it comes down to the messaging. Our city's part of an opportunity zone, which doesn't really get talked about very often, but it's a tax-deferred strategy for developers to use. And I think if we message that to the right people, and not just let people come to us, but let's go out and reach out to them, show them what Waterville has to offer. A lot of people from other parts of the state don't realize all the great benefits we have here for families in our community. And, you know, looking at strategically, what are the best places for development? Let's outline these and then bring a package to people to show them these opportunities exist. And then we also have a lot of abandoned property in our city. And one strategy that has been brought up is penalizing people with abandoned property. And I think there's two motivators, right? There's incentive and then there's fear. And I think trying to make people fearful is not the approach. I think if we reach out to some organizations and see if there's a way to incentivize these people that own abandoned buildings in our city to fix them up and then have an end user on the back end that can offer support to people that are currently unhoused, something of that situation, or turn it into affordable housing. But as mentioned, rates are extremely high now, building costs are up, which is also why when somebody does bring a project to us, you know, the project KV Cap's doing down on the south end comes to mind. You know, it's a situation where we need to work with them. And they spend a lot of money and time on putting these plans together, and we need to work with them and be thankful when they bring these projects to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike?
Jump-starting development. First, you know, we need all types of housing.
Yeah.
And to put all our eggs in one basket would be, you know, not the best idea. You know, with that said, every project that has come before the city council, I've been in favor of. And, you know, we get a lot of flack for it because people feel it's not necessarily, you know, the right type of housing. There's not enough affordable units, or, you know, the AMI is not quite what we're looking for. And I get it. And each of the houses that have, or developments and projects that have come to us, have had, you know, a portion of affordable housing, which is great, but we truly do need all types of housing, you know, be it rentals, condos, single-family houses, and things like that. There's also a need for, you know, we talk about jump-starting development and the costs that are associated with that. I spoke to a developer in Bangor, you know, creating a tiny home park, and he said that 47% of his costs were below the ground. So from the ground down, foundation, water, sewer, you know, things like that. We have an opportunity now, you know, when we talk about jump-starting development, is to partner with some of these folks to see if it's advantageous for us to apply for some grants as a city to extend infrastructure to certain parts of the city that doesn't currently have it. I think of, you know, the Trafton Road, for example, an area that's, you know, poised for, you know, development. There's some spots on the West River Road that, again, they don't have the infrastructure below the ground. And, you know, the city being able to partner with some of these private developers, I think could actually have some good results.
Excellent. Thanks, both of you, and those are fantastic responses. Concerning the city's vision and the process of visioning, you know, I've been here at Thomas College for 21 years, and I'm just amazed at the transformation of the downtown. But are there ways that we can improve the downtown? Should the city explore the creation of anything, a community center, or is there something that that you think would really help in the downtown? And I'll start with Matt.
It's funny you mentioned community center. I actually had this conversation with somebody just the other day that we don't really have that venue anymore. And it is a great avenue to bring people together, to hold events, that sort of thing. When it comes to the vision for the city, the general vision, I think we need to all come together and look at it as a whole. Economic growth, housing, and also how do we support the current businesses we have? Not just look at bringing new businesses into our city, but we don't want to be replacing existing businesses. We want to support them and find ways to do that. I also think this city could do a much better job with its vision messaging to the rest of the state. And you know, we offer so much to our citizens, and people are shocked when they come here and see all of the recreation we have, all the great things that the AYCC and the Alphon Center have done for our community. You know, Quarry Road comes to mind. These are all things, I mean, we're arguably the arts district of the state. And a lot of people don't know about that. You know, we have a great downtown where people could come to us, they could see a show, go to dinner afterwards, and we could be a destination, but we need to prepare a vision and get that message out there to the rest of the city that, hey, we're not just a stop through at McDonald's on your way to Bangor. We are a destination. Come stay, get a hotel, dine with us, go to a show. So I think if we could work together with the leaders of our city to come up with that vision and a messaging campaign to get it out there to people. And then when we bring people in as a destination location, they're shopping in our stores, they're eating in our restaurants, they're spending money at our hotels. And that's what we need in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, what's your vision for the downtown?
The downtown looks remarkably different
It does.
from when I first moved here. You know, I remember going to the Waterville House of Pizza, and I parked where the dorm is, you know what I mean, walked across the street. I will say the two-way traffic, be it now almost a year, is still a little, I still got to get used to it. I take much faith in the fact that traffic only goes one way, so I'm surprised that I'm still here with you. But what we could use downtown is people. We need more living downtown. We need more people working and living downtown. That's what makes a vibrant downtown. Contrary to belief, our first floor rentals are pretty much at capacity. We have a few smaller openings for some smaller businesses. No really huge opportunities for the flagships to come down, but there is still some space there. We have, now we're talking second and third floors. Okay? The challenges with second and third floors is we have very old stock, and new codes, and we need sprinklers and elevators, and those are extremely expensive. A lot of folks now are looking to invest in new. That's what's sexy, you know, but we really need to kind of shift the focus and say, what's actually sexy is some elevators and sprinklers, and we can get apartments upstairs, and we can get other businesses that people can access. And I think that's what we need downtown.
Okay, thank you. I think I'll switch over to Matt this time. Regarding schools and education, do you have any concerns with the operations of the schools or their budget? Starting with you.
So we kind of touched on the budget and tax increases. I think when it comes to education, that's one area that most people agree we can't cut. We need to look at what our needs are. And, you know, we did need to raise the living wages of our teachers. That's how we retain good teachers, which we need in our community, because when people move to a city, there's three basic elements they're looking at, right? Employment, housing, and education. Those are the three things people look at. So we need to support our education system. You know, Tori, my fiance, her background's in education, and you know, she was overworked and underpaid, like a lot of teachers. I personally have talked to a lot of people out there, and the idea of bringing the SRO back to the schools has come up, and personally, I support the idea. Not in a patrol officer type role. I'm looking at this as like a Todd Stevens, a community outreach position, where it's not so much about getting kids in trouble, it's more about support. We've got a diverse demographic in our city, and we want to make sure our children know that they have this figurehead in the school, not only to keep them safe, but also to go to if they're in need and have that trusted figure. I remember growing up, we had one, and it was the most troubled kids that had the best relationship with them because they were on a first name basis. They saw a lot of each other, but that's good, and they remember that person to this day. So I think that would be important, and that would be something that I would really champion behind. And then, you know, teachers shouldn't be buying materials for their students, you know, and I know Tori used to do that all the time. So I do think we need to look at that. Also, the idea of bringing, we've got a lot of education, institutional education in this city. Maybe we bring some of those leaders in too and see what their ideas are and thoughts, because they know education as well. Thank you.
Okay, Mike?
I have 3 kids. All of them have attended or are currently enrolled in the Waterville school system. We have an amazing music program and art programs, and these are programs that are easy to cut. But the commitment of our staff and teachers and administration is absolutely amazing. I was at a trivia night one night, and I was at a table with some folks, and some of them I knew and some of them I didn't, and throughout the evening I got to know this woman who is an art teacher, and she'd expressed that she had a budget of $6 per student for the year to teach art. Now, that seems low to me. I can't buy a coloring book and crayon for my grandson for $6. So the fact that, you know, these students or these teachers are actually conducting, you know, an entire class for, you know, a quarter, you know, of the year on $6 is absolutely amazing. And she said, well, because we pay for a lot of it. So it's coming out of, you know, their salaries, which is unacceptable in my opinion. And, you know, I agree with Matt that, you know, we need to look to fund the schools as much as we can. In the last budget we did, the city council approved to increase the wages to move them within other tiers and be more competitive with our surrounding schools, and that we were able to, you know, start hiring some of the top tier teachers, which is important. We have a school board which is phenomenal in addressing the situation or the needs of that school. They are very reasonable with the costs that they to the city. The school board understands, you know, what that balance is and what the taxpayers can afford. As far as an SRO, you know, that we've had one before, and the school board, they tried it and they eliminated the position. In the response to the last SRO that we had, the school had to create a policy that affirmed that students' constitutional rights to ensure that our students' rights were upheld. The Muskie Center actually explained in a thing that, again, the position is damaging to diverse communities and targets marginalized populations, and it's proved that having an SRO increases the student dropout rates and increases student arrest rates. So I'm not in favor of adding this position at that time.
Okay, thank you. Mike, I'll stick with you, and this is something that's been coming up, you know, back and forth for years, I guess, and I just want to ask just kind of a frank question. Does Waterville have a parking problem?
Does Waterville have a parking problem? Well, my son just bought a new car, so I have a parking problem in my driveway now. But, you know, it's relative. I would say, and I would not discount anyone's opinion on our parking problem, or whether or not we have a parking problem. There have been times in which I have driven down Main Street and have taken a couple of passes around to find a space, and then there's been times that I've not. We do have some struggles in the concourse with, you know, certain businesses and other entities. But as far as the amount of parking that we have, we knew that the change to two-way traffic was going to eliminate some of the spots on Main Street. It's a lot safer, you know, by doing that. We have some parking challenges. I don't think that we have a parking problem. And there are a few steps that we probably could take to alleviate that and create some turnover. We just spent the better part of a year doing this visioning process for downtown. One of the suggestions, there was two suggestions that were related to parking, specifically on Main Street, was parking meters. Now, again, parking meters, I don't want to say we're doing this, like, you know, another cost to the citizens, anything like that. Like, nothing's been vetted or anything like that. But what parking meters do is they do create turnover. So someone isn't parking in front of, you know, the Lion's Den for 5 hours, or, you know, up by, you know, Sailor Tea. You know, it'll allow them to have to come out and feed the meter and turn over. The second thing that came in the during the visioning session was the concourse, utilizing the concourse and making sure that we had as many parking spaces as we can. And it also introduced the idea of a parking garage. Interesting idea, and, you know, we've just adopted this vision. So now it's time to kind of dig in and see what's feasible and what makes sense.
Thank you. Yeah, Westbrook's been tackling some of that and interesting comparisons. Matt?
As somebody that travels to Portland usually a day every other week or a day a week, I don't find us to have a parking challenge like a lot of communities do. You know, Portland, Biddeford, there's a lot of cities that have challenges where you're walking 10 minutes or you're trying to find a spot for 10 minutes. You're not always going to be able to park right in front of the business or restaurant you're going to, but, you know, an example is I was in Portland one day, off rush hour time. Took me 10 minutes to find a spot, 10 minutes to walk to the restaurant I was going to. Got back to Waterville, peak time, parked right in front of the business I was going to downtown. When it comes to the idea of parking meters, that's something I'd want to examine a little more. I'm all for the revenue stream, but it is an additional tax on the people of this city. And, you know, we have a downtown that still has empty retail space. So we need to be looking to attract people, and we don't want to put any hurdles in their way. As far as a parking garage, you know, again, I want to examine this a little more. I have some mixed feelings. There's a lot of residents that I've spoken with over the last several weeks or month, and a lot of them have some safety concerns as it is parking in the concourse, especially at night, that sort of thing. And that's an open area. Parking garage, there's more cover, so I think it would raise some safety issues for a lot of residents, or at least they'd view it that way. Thank you.
Thank you. You mentioned some open downtown space that is not being leased or even purchased. What kind of businesses could we attract? Are there specific strategies as mayor that you'd take that could help us with that issue? Yes, you. Yeah. I'm following up.
Yes. So yeah, I believe there is. We do have retail space available. And again, this gets back to the vision and the messaging that our city puts out there, right? There are businesses all around the state looking for other areas to go. And I believe our demographic fits that. We have the arts, we have restaurants, we do have things to bring people in. But we do need to do a better job with messaging. You know, when we say things just as little as how we present it to them. Do we have a lot of vacant space or do we have a lot of available space? Things like that, where I believe, you know, we'd have to do a little more research, and, you know, maybe this would be a good committee, but identifying the businesses that the community needs, and that would be a place to engage the community. What are we missing? You know, I think there's definitely an opportunity for some more retail, some more restaurants, that sort of thing. So I think we need to identify those and figure out how to, and again, be proactive, you know, work with the Growth Council on this, see if we can team up and get some, you know, feelers out there. It's not about letting people come to us and then we send them a packet and tell them why we're so great. It's about identifying what we want and reaching out to those businesses and trying to attract them here. Again, there's a lot of people from around the state that don't realize what we have to offer here. So they might not be looking necessarily at Waterville, but if we can reach out, bring them here and show them all the reasons they should be in Waterville, I think that would go a long way. Thank you.
Okay, Mike, your strategy for championing the downtown, bringing some business in.
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
We need a Chick-fil-A. They'll come. No.
We do.
Downtown, you know, I think, you know, one of the things that in talking with, you know, Garvin at the Central Maine Growth Council is to try to get a better understanding of the actual, you know, number of units that we have in the sizes. Because one of the things that I would love to have downtown, only because it's all the way across town for me to get there, is a store like Bull Moose. You know, a nice, cool record store, you know, music store, books, things like that in the downtown. I think it pairs nicely with our Opera House. You know, we have an eclectic group of people that come to the Opera House. It gives an opportunity for some cross-reference, you know, signings and things like that. The other thing that would be great downtown is an experience of something, like, so bowling or an arcade or something fun that a family can enjoy. Not necessarily food being primary, but like obviously like pizzas, like things like that. You know, someplace somebody can go before maybe popping across the street to the Opera House, or, you know, down the road, you know, to actual dinner while they wait for reservations, you know, downtown. So those are some of the things that I see would be, you know, a great addition to downtown. You know, once we add all the people upstairs and we have the, you know, the students, I think that would be fantastic.
So do I, and just a shout out to the Opera House, not that, you know, we should pick on, but I was a trustee for the Opera House for a while, and I just think they have done a heck of a job over the years, and we're lucky to have such a structure in this town. Sticking with the downtown, the Maine Department of Transportation has the project to replace the bridge, and that's impacted traffic flow in the area. And it looks like that's going to remain that way for the next 2 or 3 years. Is there more that the city could be doing to deal with the problem of rerouted traffic and the detoured flow? And I'll stick with you, Mike.
I think that we can always do more. I mean, I think that we're open to doing more. I know that we've had some meetings with, you know, Brian's have had some meetings with the chamber. You know, we do have the signs, the electronic board signs as you come in over the bridge that's actually open, saying, hey, downtown's open with an arrow. There will be more that we need to do to make sure that people understand, especially as we enter the holiday season and shopping. And I know we have the parade of lights, which is going to come down through there. So There's always more, and we're certainly open to creating, any type of information, any vessel that we can get it out there to let people know that, our downtown is open and, ready for business.
Mike?
So when it comes to that, this is definitely not my background, but this is where I do think getting the message out there correctly so people have the information to know what's going on, where the detour routes are, that sort of thing. And this is where, as mayor, again, this not being my expertise and I haven't been privy to these conversations, I would bring people in like the city manager and the people working, Winslow officials, Waterville officials, and try and come up with a solution. Thank you.
Thank you. The city does, I'm going to even go further. I think the Mid-Maine Chamber does a great job with ribbon cuttings. What's the role of the mayor at these ribbon cuttings? Mike?
I've attended a few ribbon cuttings. I think the role of mayor is to show support for the new business that's there. And to officially, welcome them. Most ribbon cuttings happen not on day one, but, a couple days later or weeks later. So I think it is important that the mayor is there to, provide that support and welcome.
And you will?
I think it's extremely important. It shows support for our businesses, shows that we're behind them. It sends a message to new businesses that are on track to open in our city. And this is where I think the professional image of the mayor comes in, right? You show up, show your support, and get the message out there to people about this new business.
Yeah, just to follow up, I mean, if there isn't a partnership already, what would your approach be to forming partnerships with new businesses in town at a ribbon cutting ceremony like this or anywhere else? Matt?
So that's where being proactive comes in. Being out there, meeting not just the residents, but the business owners. I think we should be going to the existing business owners as well, showing support. And then if there's a relationship there that hasn't already been engaged in, reaching out to them, telling them that we support them, and setting up time to go visit them, learn what they do, see how they operate, see what their challenges are, what their needs are, and be as supportive as possible.
Thank you. Mike?
Yeah, I agree. I think that communication is important. Not just simply having them, reach out if there's an issue or concern that they have, but to be proactive and do find out, what their needs are. Yeah, I think, yeah.
Thank you. I can't believe that almost an hour's gone by. We're down to our last few communications here already. Just as a general question here, and a final question, then we'll give you some time to close. Would your own political views, how would they inform your actions as mayor and your approach to the city and issues, or not at all? Matt?
Yeah, so, I think we can all agree the last several years have been interesting, to say the least. And out of that, politics have become very polarized, argumentative, a lot of tension in them. And I think the role of the mayor, especially at the local level, is to bring everybody together regardless of where they stand politically. I'm running unenrolled. Previously, I've been a registered Republican. Earlier on, I viewed myself as a Democrat. Right now, I feel like I don't have a party that truly identifies who I am. And, I think for me, I always viewed myself as a Democrat early on. As my business grew, I started taking the approach, I was looking more at fiscal policy, things that affected my business. I was putting my blood, sweat, and tears in this. And as new policy comes out, it affected my business and the rate that I could grow. So that's where conservatively, fiscally, I'm a little more conservative. But I don't think that it should polarize local politics. I think at the end of the day, we all agree primarily, for the most part, on what the issues are our city faces, and that we all need to work together for the betterment of our city. Political parties should not get in the way of that. Thank you.
That's a good message. Mike?
I want to be clear, like, my personal political views don't factor into any decision that I make that affect the citizens of the city. That would be, to me, that would just be a disservice to a percentage of the people that live here. To me, if you have a problem or a concern, I want you to feel comfortable that you can come to me, we can talk, we can certainly come to an understanding, or even if we don't come to an understanding, then we're gonna walk away with a very civil conversation. We'll have a better understanding of each person's position. But if there's a certain topic that comes up that, residents are passionate about, regardless of where I fall on that side of the coin, we have to make the best decision for the city, and that has to come first.
Are we utilizing, as well as we could, our representatives to the legislature and the Senate?
I mean, I feel that I am. I reach out. I have them both, in my phone, and I call and ask questions as necessary. I think that they are both extremely responsive,
Let me just say, they're both wonderful, and, I mean, anything can be improved upon, right? I think they do a great job, but sure, could we strengthen that relationship and bring them in on more conversations? I'm sure we could, and as mayor, that's one of the things that I would make certain to do.
Fantastic. So before I open this up to your closing statements, I know how hard you worked on them because I got a chance to talk to you before we started here. And so we're expecting wonderful things. I do want to first compliment the audience on just an absolutely wonderful approach by all of you. And you could hear a pin drop in this place, and you deserve a compliment for that. Thank you so much for that. Okay, final thoughts, and we're going to start with Matt.
Again, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight, and I'm excited about the possibility of being our next mayor and tackling the challenges that lie ahead for our city and working with everybody, getting to know those of you that I don't already know. And life is busy, right? Working a full-time job, running a business, raising a family, just balancing everything life has to throw at you. This campaign, I've garnered a lot more respect for anybody that gets involved in local politics, and I think more people should do, and that includes Mike, that's up here with me tonight. And, tonight we both answered a lot of questions, made promises, commitments to the city, and I think at the end of the day, based on our questions, if you look at both of our websites, I think we agree on a lot. I don't think we're that far apart. And, I think, again, most people at the local level agree on what the issues are and that we all need to work together to solve these. Tonight, you, the rest of the voters that have watched us at home, what you need to be thinking about are the qualities that you want to see in the next mayor of our city. And I believe I possess those qualities, the qualities that I would want to see in the mayor of my city. Where do those qualities come from? For every one of us, it's different, right? It's based on life experience. It's based on where we've been, who we know. And for me, outside of family, I have two real passions, business and fitness. And I think both of those, you learn a lot of qualities that carry over into all aspects of life. And for me, it comes down to, it's easy for all of us to have motivation on the good days, right? We all know what a good day looks like, right? You're up before the alarm clock, running shoes are laced up, you're out the door, theme song from Rocky's kind of playing in your head before you even put your headphones on. But it's about the bad days, the days the alarm clock goes off and you don't want to get up, you don't want to put your all into it. Leadership is about showing up on those days, the days that you don't want to. I feel that based on my skills, my experience with business, that my leadership, dedication, and drive would be a valuable asset to our community. Tonight is not necessarily just about us. It's about you guys. It's about all of the voters here. And now it's time for you to make a determination on who you want to see be the face of our city for the next 3 years or beyond. And I promise, as the next mayor, to focus on the issues, to listen, And for those reasons, I ask you, on November 7th, please give me the opportunity to show you what I'm capable of for our city, a city that we all call home. Thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you. I got nervous for a second because Matt said promises, and I want to make sure that I'm clear. I have no idea if Chick-fil-A is coming here, so I want to make sure. Thank you tonight for joining us here tonight and being part of this democratic process. Like I said, 7 years ago, Waterville became more than just my home to me. It became a legacy. I've seen our challenges, I share in our successes, and the heart of this community through it all. I've come to realize that the strength of Waterville lies not only in the hands of a single leader, but in the collective of its people. Affordable housing, it's not just a policy for me. It's ensuring that those who love the city can call it home. I believe in building homes that fit our community's financial reality, championing the missing middle, and maximizing the potential of every lot that we have. As a believer in education, I celebrate the steps we've taken to bolster our school systems, but there's more to do. In terms of infrastructure, our roads and sidewalks are symbols of our care for every resident. My plan is to partner with community stakeholders to ensure that they're safe and accessible for all. And yes, the budget. It is a challenging topic, yet as mayor, I commit to understanding its intricacies while also valuing the hard work of the souls of the city. We must balance fiscal responsibility with our duty to continue to support our educators, first responders, and every Waterville resident. For our unhoused neighbors, I am proud of the trust that we're building. Their ideas, like the yurt concept, show the kind of innovative solutions that we can find when we truly listen. Addressing food insecurity means better collaboration to ensure that no one goes hungry in our city. Waterville doesn't need a singular message. It requires a chorus of voices singing in harmony. And I urge you all to join that conversation and be part of committees to help shape this future. Tonight, I sit before you not as just a mayoral candidate, but also a fellow citizen. My story in Waterville is intertwined with yours, and together, let's continue writing a narrative that future generations will be proud of. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both very much. Just to close, I'd like to say that in my 21 years of working in this city and all of the projects that I've been so fortunate to be able to be involved in, the successes have been many. We have a city that we can be very, very proud of. I know you're all proud to live here, the audience. I know the two of you are. And we can even be greater. So from here, let's make sure we make some great decisions, work together. Let's shout out the people that are doing great things, and one of the shout outs that I need to make today is to the Waterville, the Morning Sentinel. Thank you so much for all the things that you do, for partnering with Thomas College on this event, which I think is very important for all of us. And let's all together take this forward and really make a difference in our community. It's a great one to work at and to live in. Thank you so much. We are now concluded, and the two candidates have agreed to stay a few minutes and speak to anyone that would like to speak to them. Again, thank you very much for coming to Thomas College and being a part of this.